Welcome back, Fred.
Welcome back. All right, sure thing.
I mean, I guess that's the major audience, so that makes a little bit of sense
Mm.
for that kind of software.
Right? No.
Oh no,
yeah, it is.
oh no,
They can hear
Jer
me now.
sisters.
Yeah, they can hear me now. Hi, everyone. So, as usual, we're messing around with the audio settings, and I didn't get them quite right. And I know that it's still not quite right in the left channel, but I can fix that. I have realized that the deficiencies of this program, and now it's coming in both, are not only me, because things are mislabeled. The analog stereo, right? It's marked capture_FR. So what does capture mean to you? To me, it means like a monitor of the audio that's recording on the computer, right? That's not what it means. That's the microphone. Monitor means the other thing. And then there's also one that's like output_FR. So I think that it's not just me being dumb, that the words that this program uses are way too galaxy brain audio engineer for me. And I'm just going to have to remember, okay, capture, when it says capture, that means my mic or a hardware source that produces audio monitor is a hardware source that produces like oh my god, audio output. I really need to write a program for this, and I will, because it's just too much for me to remember in real time. And I'm really bad at video games, and it's starting to feel like one to me, where I have to connect the things to the right things in a time limit. I always die in those. So, let's welcome our guests. So, um, please talk.
Ohio. My name's Mark. I was 8chan's board owner for the video games board for about 6 years on the original 8chan until I quit to start 8chan.moe with Acid Man for about 2 years. So, total of 8 years in the moderation scene, or the Hot Pocket scene, as you want to call it. And I've been doing about, 8 years? Jesus.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Before we really get started, I just want to say about timeliness, because it came up on.
Hey, where's my intro though?
Oh, you'll get one. I'm sorry, but I just need to start it with this. I'm sorry. I forgot. You get one. Don't worry. You're very important. You gave me a very good image that we're going to use during the stream. Thank you for doing this, by the way.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, that's a great way to segue into the timeliness. Because, okay, for me, it's not an issue if someone being late is explained. Like, for example, when this stream was going to start 5 minutes early, 9:35 instead of 9:30, I entered the call and I was like, "Do you guys mind if I start it late? Because I'm still messing with the thumbnail." And they were like, "Okay." But when somebody's late with no explanation, and I don't know, I am really, really difficult about that, and I always have been. But I also think that the contract, to put it in very legal terms, or the implied agreement between me and somebody that's coming on this is way different than me and the audience. And so, if I'm late to start that doesn't bother me as much, because I don't really make these to be listened to live. Hardly anyone does. I appreciate those of you who do, who suffered through with me, and get it, working. But I do this for archival. I think the people I talk to have stories that need to be told, and probably won't be told if I don't do it. Because, they don't think archival matters at all, right? And so, the chance to talk to me and to do, to just call me whatever you want. I put on Twitter, I wish Frosty would do a stream. She could come on, she could call me, a slur that's used against Jewish people, and then the word wheels. She could call me fat, she could call me a sellout, she could call me a crippled. Go to town, Frosty. That's true for, the Peruvian one that's what the hell is his name? Well, I don't even know his real name, but his screen name even. The Peruvian guy who really liked all the dictators in South America and was a fascist, and Jim Ired. Jesus. Mark, you know it, don't you?
I do, yeah. I'm just waiting for you to finish your speech.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So with that said about the timeliness, I'm really gonna let you guys take over, because at least for a little while, because I think that it'll become clear in your conversation that administering an image board is very different than moderating one. And the reason this started, the untimely person that's not here, it was because I got asked, if I have any tips for moderating an image board, which is a very different job. And the answer is not really. I have some, but they're all really old, and mostly are Wizard Chan based experience, which is nothing like most image boards are or should be. I mean, that was such a
They have some tales that may be somewhat similar, but maybe a story for later.
Moderation, you always have to have a team of people. You got to be lucky and have good, trusted team. Because you're never, even on day one, if it's a big board, you're never going to be able to do it by yourself. So the most important thing is to establish a guideline, a vision, and a team of people to help you. Even if it's 2 or 3 people, that's still better than no one, because you want to be able to cover that whole time frame of time zones or whatever. So you want to be able to cover that. Another thing when it comes to board moderation is that you need to have your own style. Ripping off someone's style is good too, but you're going to want to have a style that resonates with you and your community. For example, for me, I'm a little more, balanced than, say, for example, TV's board or the television board, which is more like a random board with a TV theme, like a TV and movie Hollywood theme. Whereas my board is a little more strict in regards to, if you talk about video games, it's fine, whatever. But if it's not video games or if it's like only a one sentence OP and such, we won't really allow that.
If I could jut in here, Mark, because that's really interesting. I hadn't even considered that. That like some boards, as I said, I know not that much, and so yeah, some boards, are going to be very different. Like about being on topic. So how?
Before you respond to that part, we still need my intro.
Oh shit! Yeah, yeah. Jesus Christ, these are very unprofessionally run. Like
It's for fun.
I'm not.
This is the first live stream I've ever been on.
Wow.
Desu, by the way. I was never ever on any live streams. I always kind of kept to the background operations maintenance. I was Bees mod for a while, and then moved up to global volunteer.
Aren't you like an operations manager as a job?
That is what I do now, actually. Yes, believe it or not, I have employees now. That is the weirdest thing.
Well, you're really good at it. I mean, you just managed me a little bit. You helped me remember something that I really forgot.
That's what they call managing up.
I don't view myself as like higher than you or anything, though. I mean, like, I think that you legitimately were a trooper for bad at the internet right now. Like,
my best.
because the person that was supposed to be here, right, didn't show up. And so I was just like, oh, shit. Who can replace them on no notice? And I knew that, like, okay, I knew that, like, we had talked a little bit about maybe, right? But I wasn't clear. But then you were like, oh, no, I'm outside, but I'm bar hopping, but I'm at my last one. So I'm just going to run home, and then I'll drink a ton of water. I'll drink pizza. I'll eat pizza for you to sober up. And I'm like, man, dedicated to the cause.
We've been prepping this forever. And heck, you took care of an artist friend of mine. Actually, we even made the art on the thumbnail way ahead of time, kind of planning for this originally, which is by a good artist, Lavs. She is awesome. You can find her on Twitter. Very good Rosen Maiden community friend of mine. So we've been planning this a while.
Yeah, we have. I don't know if I was planning a stream. Maybe I was.
Oh.
I thought that
I think we were.
Yeah, I think we were. I thought that I commissioned that because of like what was going on?
Yeah, it was the NFTs. It was Associated Press.
Yeah.
We both went in, amongst others, and we trolled the hell out of that Discord. Their Associated Press Discord, where people were talking about, oh yeah, hey, I've got some photos from Ukraine right now. Can I use these as NFTs? And it's like, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that NFT thing sounds like a giant mess.
Oh, it was. They eventually caved and deleted the Discord. They backed out.
Wow, they deleted the Discord? I didn't even know that. When did that happen?
I thought it was they deleted it, because I'm pretty sure it was either they deleted it or they kicked all of us. But I think
they kicked all of us. I know for sure that happened.
Yeah, that's very minimum. But I think they just deleted it entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that the project failed. I know who to ask. I'm a guy on Twitter at a man for all seasons, but not seasons. So I'll ask them. Yeah, he was keeping me updated. You guys know how I can be, right? Like something falls off the radar and it falls totally off. Yeah. So okay, cool. To get it back on topic though, how about I'll remember to put on, because like always these are set up so fast, because like I had the thumbnail ready for who was supposed to be here, so it had yeah, I know it's all right, but so it had like an artist credit and stuff, but I did this so fast that I forgot it, so I'm gonna put it, so you guys talk for a while and then I'll put it in the OBS settings.
Yeah, so what's going on with Kiwi Farms?
I was going to say, before we maybe touch on that, I was going to bring up that, especially with different boards being very different, I moderated a ton of different boards. I was on B, my own board Desu, the waifu board I was involved with, as well as Ebola, funnily enough. was one of the mods
That's a
there.
type of board.
And then F, the Flash board. I actually had to commission one of the other global mods, I think, to build a F-style board that was similar to 4chan's, because there is no competitor.
Yeah, that's
Or
true.
wasn't.
That's true.
I
Well,
made a
Flash was being
huge...
phased out at the time.
Yeah, there's
It's
still
still
some
being
of us
phased out.
using it.
Yeah, for sure. But for the most part,
For the most part, it's dying
gone.
out.
It's gone. They even have emulators to emulate Flash.
Mhm.
So they're really trying to get rid of it. And I
Thank you, Russell.
think it's for a good reason. I'm not sure if it is for a good reason. I think Frederick would know more about that than I would.
Yeah, the actual coding side.
I don't mind
software.
talking about it a little, because it's actually come up, especially when it comes to our archival stuff. It's a big problem, a very big problem.
100%.
I think that Flash was the wrong technical solution to the problem that was trying to be solved. Yes. I do think that the modern way of doing it, of having those APIs in the browser, is correct, fundamentally correct. With that said, I don't think that the way that the Flash phase out was done was ethical at all. Adobe really fucked the entire world with that by not releasing the entire spec and everything they have about, and that was the absolute minimum that they had to do. And so, they could have done much more and should have. They should have released, for example, all of the code to Macromedia Flash MX 2004. They should have released all of the code to everything that made output SWF files, because they're abandoning the format, right? And so there is no business case to not do that other than greed. Period.
100%. And you also have to keep in mind, Apple at the time, who was growing very fast with their whole iPhone shtick, was probably pressuring down Adobe's throats to kill it.
That could be.
That's true, but
Possible.
okay, Apple was definitely not pressuring Adobe not to release the specs, though. They did that all on their own.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think
I remember
killing
before
Adobe was faster through Apple, because
Yeah.
Apple wanted to kill it faster because they wanted more web compatibility with their phones.
Sui, I remember that you always were bothering me back in those days. Not bothering, but like asking me about Flashboard features.
Oh,
do you want to talk about that?
pestering about it constantly.
Yeah, do you want to talk about like why and like how I usually would try, but I just didn't have time. It was something that was so complicated for me to do on the back end, and I knew that like you and 5 other people cared, and so I felt bad every time, but I was also like, I just can't all the time.
So Flash was actually probably one of my earliest boards on 4chan. Flash PO, the papercraft board, not Pol. And probably some of the porn boards way younger than I should have been, but
Oh yeah, I think that was the case for everyone who
I think it is
back in the day.
But I was pretty active on Flash. I still have Flash files from 2009 that I saved. So I go way back with that board. It's almost like a weird time capsule, because it's a very limited amount of files you can post. It's not like images where you just have the whole countless amounts. Flash only has so many files, so it's very much a repost board where reposting is normal. It's encouraged even. Heck, Thursdays is Thursday, where we post gotchi memes.
Just to ask, so you're saying that most of the users of that board then don't understand how to make an SWF file?
It's a mixed bag, but I'd say a lot of them don't. I learned. I have a few out there, but I'd say a lot do not. It's a little bit involved to get into that, and you have to have a lot of the Adobe software stuff to do it.
Oh yeah, you still do. That's one of the reasons that I was like pushing so hard on them, because I think that the fact that there's no way to like analyze, at least no good way. There's a way to dump an SWF now to like XML. But it's very not easy to read and parse. And that's really all we have. It's a good start. There's also Ruffle. Ruffle.
There is a method in which you can download one of the old Flash EXEs, and you can just drag the SWF over to it and play it locally, which is an option if you want to do local playing of a Flash file. So there's at least that. It's way more compatible than Ruffle. Ruffle breaks a lot of things.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. It's interesting.
Yep.
So do you want to talk about like how?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, because Mark's been here before, but we'll talk to him too, because like I feel like he knows way more about like moderating a large image board. You know, I know that yours were mostly small, but you know they're both important. I think that you know tends to be, in my opinion, that small image boards are often much less toxic and much better for the people on them, especially if the topic is not, you know, something that like politics or news, or you know, but when it's
Paul especially was screwed over hard by by the whole not having guidance on HN sort of thing.
Because I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
I feel that with Poll, it's like I think the board could have been salvaged if they had a good board owner and a good vision, rather than just letting Campy make it into a mega fest.
Oh yeah,
and just having more, just unifying Lefty Poll and Poll into one board, and not taking sides on political issues. And there's a whole
that wouldn't work at all. But anyway, that's why I like having Mark, because I disagree with him on a lot.
I know, it's fine. But in my opinion, I think that Lefty Poll and Poll would obviously be separate. But I think in terms of moderation, handling the board topics, it's like,
oh well, I agree there. Yeah, but what I thought you meant was like having them in the exact same board, and no, it wouldn't work.
Oh no. I mean, just in terms of handling moderating Poll, I think it should have been more what's the word? Partisan?
Non-partisan.
Non-partisan.
That's it, non-partisan. So I felt it should have been more non-partisan in the sense that, you know, no matter what your politics are, here's what we want to talk about. You're free to talk about it, as long as it's related to the issue at hand.
You know, it's interesting because like the person that asked for this is a Lefty Poll moderator, right? And so it's interesting to have to think about this right away. Like, does it matter what your politics are, even if your job is moderating a board like Lefty Poll? And I think, yeah, you should still try to be neutral, even though it's called Lefty Poll, right? Like, I think that because even within like leftists, you know, there are so many different strains of thinking, and also on HN back in the day, I remember real old users remember this, but I went on there a few times with the admin cap code and argued with them, and so but not like a mean spirited argument or anything, you know, just like just trying to convince them of my politics. And I learned a lot from it. And, you know, it kind of ended up being the other way around.
I gotcha. That's good. But, you know,
I mean, in
terms of the whole Poll on Lefty Poll situation, I think obviously they would split just because, you know, there's certain sides of a pendulum sort of thing. And there's always going to be extremists on both sides. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like you want to be as nonpartisan as possible when it comes to moderation and stuff like that.
So even with smaller boards, I think there's an inherent problem, a problem that is difficult to solve, is boards united by ideology.
Yes.
Like Poll, Lefty Poll, even the waifu board was very much united on this is what this is and this practice is, and we got to be like this. I strayed from that, and they did not like me. I have a very similar tale to yours, Fred. Yeah, they found out I had sex and got very, very, very mad.
Wait a minute. But it wasn't even like a virgin board? Explain this.
Nope. So it's waifuism. So they're all waifuists. So they think, oh yeah, you love your waifu and your waifu only, no other partner. But I can't.
Wait. Sorry. I'm sorry. Are we talking about anime characters here or actual women that are just
anime characters? So basically a sort of parasocial relationship where you feel the emotions of a full love for a non-real character.
But isn't there also a type of waifuism where it's like just unattainable waifuism, like Demi Lovato, for example, right? Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but
Yeah.
what he's basically saying is that he held a board for people who were obsessed with anime waifus. And
Okay, I
turns
got
out he
it.
had
All right,
sex.
yeah. I just wanted to make sure, like, so
Oh.
the other type that I'm describing, were they allowed or not?
Do you mean more like casual waifuism? Or
No,
like
no,
it's
I
more
mean like
a-
somebody who is obsessed.
like a celebrity waifuism, like actual.
Yeah, like some.
celebrity.
actual people? No, I don't think they were allowed.
Okay, so it
I
was a
think that
very,
was a
very
rule.
strict board, right? Like you can have a waifu, but it has to be an anime character. Got it. Okay, go on.
We allowed some cartoons and some other stuff, but it, like not real people.
Yeah, I'm using anime in the Japanese sense, just meaning animation.
Yep. But I mean, I showed up and I was brutally honest. Like, hey, am I allowed here? I'm polyamorous. Is that okay? And the people there said okay. And like a while later, some new people had shown up. The community grew a little bit, and they found out, wait, he's actually not kidding about that. And they got really, really mad. Really mad. Like you when you got ousted mad.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure, like, my viewers, because some are, like, from Twitter and normal,
Yeah.
that they'll understand. So when you're saying polyamorous, you don't mean that in the normal way, right? Like, you don't mean that you had multiple sexual partners in real life. You mean that it's the waifu and your real partner, right?
Could be either or, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Could be either or.
But what was it for you, or does it not
That's
matter?
something I recommend for most people. That is not easy to handle. It's not something that I'm like, everybody should do this. No, it's very difficult.
Oh, so
Very
you've
difficult.
tried
Takes
it.
a lot of trust. Oh yeah, no, I still do. But it's very, very difficult to pull off. Not for most people. Not at all.
Interesting.
But because of that, though, they got super mad at me because of it, and it actually splintered the board. And I find this is an issue with, kind of back to the point, is communities formed through the ideology. It's a lot easier to break them. It's a lot easier for someone to turn out to be against the overall idea of the board and the values. Even if everybody was friendly, they still think they're a good person. They never did anything wrong to everybody. If they violate the ideals, that becomes an offense to everybody. So it makes it much harder to run those boards. Like, you wouldn't have that in B. B is B. It's random. There's no ideology or papercraft. That board doesn't have an ideology. You're just making paper
Well,
stuff.
that brings up an interesting question, because I would say perhaps there is that in V. Even though it's a board that has, like, would apply to a large section of society. I think that if it came out that, let's say Mark thought Gamergate wasn't justified, right?
Oh, they'd be mad.
They'd be mad, right, Mark?
But I don't know. I mean, it's like with the V, it's kind of like, yes, the Gamergate, they have their sort of mentality and whatever. They have their ideology, but I would argue that they're mostly just normal people who have some. I wouldn't call it sort of a cult like religion or whatever, but so they're just normal people who want to talk about games, play about games. I wouldn't say that if I were to go full commie, that they would be leave because I went full commie. It's because I went against my values. That my initial pitch to the board of what they wanted from me as both the board owner and as a person to what I brought to the table. If I were to switch my ideals of going against Gamergate, then they should go somewhere else because they would be going. Because I would be going against what I was.
Can I ask you something, Mark, though?
Yeah.
Do you think that it's fair that, and this is just a question, you can even answer it however you want, but do you think it's fair that, like, you're held to this standard of hypocrisy? I agree with you that they should leave, right? Like, nobody should, for example, nobody should have to stay on 8chan after I decide that it's not, like, a site that I want to ever run.
Well,
right?
I mean, we're talking about in terms of what the pitch is, what people.
Yeah, but do you think it's fair for them to be mad at you in perpetuity?
Depends what they're mad about. If, like, for example,
over you changing your ideals, or over you changing your ideas about life and stuff, is it okay for them to be mad at you in perpetuity?
I would think so, because you make a pitch.
Okay.
I know it sounds weird, and I'm probably gonna get shit for this.
No, it's fine. I mean, not for me. I'm really interested to hear your opinion, because I know that that's the general opinion. I just don't understand it. So please try to explain it to me. Like why should you be a prisoner to your users, and they should just be mad at you in perpetuity? I don't get that.
Well, it's not so much that I'm a prisoner to my users. It's more that I have my beliefs. If I like what I'm doing, I'll continue doing it.
But you're not allowed to
I don't
change them.
feel that this is the right community for me, I can always leave the community myself and give it to someone else.
If you don't mind me interjecting, I think I have a good way to frame it. It's the difference between the V users would leave the board and make their own versus when I was dealing with all of that stuff, it was you need to leave. I was not in charge of the board. I was like one down from the owner, but it was like, yeah, you violated the values and rules. You need to go. Like if somebody on poll violated those values, they need to go. Where something like V, if Mark changed his opinion, complete turn face, they still couldn't say he needs to be ousted from V and kicked off the board by the global administration. You can't say that. They just have to, pick up and recreate their own community because they don't have the same values. So it's a bit different.
But do you think that was even a good rule? I mean, I am very much open to always, reevaluating everything. And I think, do you actually think that was a good rule? The idea that I just said, because I based it on, libertarianism, which I don't even know if is that great anymore. Like, Mark is only Mark because he got there first. And, there's something to be said for that. He had the, what's it called? The drive and the knowledge that this was going to be a valuable thing before other people in the world, right? And so you could say that makes him smarter in a way than other people in the world. I guess in this specific way, right? Like that he understood that this was a powerful thing and to take it even better than I did. It took me a long while to understand. Wow, those legacy board names—they're really important. I should not have just, I should have at least thought about it harder, right? I admitted that many times. And so I'd like to hear you guys discuss that.
So in terms of the legacy board names, I do think they are important in the sense that, there's legacies, there's certain legacy that comes with the name. So obviously you have to respect that legacy that, that you're inheriting from 4chan or 8chan or whatever. But also another thing that was interesting to me was what happened with B and B2. Where the B2 people basically took over that community because they didn't like the way B was run, in the sense that it wasn't the sense that they grew up with 2010 B.
When did that happen?
That was way after I had kind of shifted gears.
Yeah, me too.
Just focusing on administration and the global report queue.
Somebody else
up as the B admin at the time.
Yeah, this was after I think you left, Frederick. Basically, there's a B and a B2. Someone got B and was a little more old friendly, ran it the way it was in 2006, 2005. And then there was B2, which was basically the random board, how it was run 2008 onward, which is just random shit posting or whatever.
I think it was slightly before Fred left. Because I think I remember it before I left, and I left just a bit before Fred did.
Yeah, but my point is, what I'm trying to say is that the legacy names, it's sort of yes and no, because someone was able to make a B2, and I found that to be very, very impressive. Obviously, a game called Video Games won't outclass B, but B2
it's basically two different eras of B on two different boards.
Okay, that's interesting. I really didn't know that happened. I really think it was after, or it might have been if it wasn't after I left, it was the time where I was only there in name only, because that happened for a few months.
Yeah, that was probably what happened. I mean,
because my actual retirement was April 2016, right?
Yeah,
but I was technically in name only until May
2017. So. Yeah, but basically someone was able to beat the legacy name system by using the legacy names and adding a 2 after it.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, that it eventually worked the way that I thought it would.
Yeah,
it took a long time. I mean, that it took a long time.
It did take a long time, and I think that the site... I think if Infinity Next worked out and we were able to get more... we're able to focus some more community promotion, I think the site would have been a major success, but unfortunately things didn't pan out the way we wanted them to, and unfortunately Jim took over everything, so... It is what it is.
Yeah, we
that was
won't
kind
talk
of the
too much
death
about
knell.
that just because we already did in episode 1. You know,
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep all these on
Yeah.
different topics. People can
Alright.
listen to episode 1. No, it's totally fine. People can listen to episode 1. One thing I wanted to ask, okay, because I think it would be interesting to like talk about global administration, which I don't, or global moderation, which I know Mark never did, but Sui did a lot. Do you want to talk about how you became a global volunteer?
Oh man, I think I was just hanging out on RSC, and at one point, I think you literally just asked, "Does anybody want to run B?" And I was like, "Yeah, screw it, I'll give it a shot." I think that's all it was. And then I ran B for a time. Oh, it was kind of wild. It was kind of fun, honestly. We had some fun with it. I remember I ran trips. You get to pick somebody else who gets banned, but if you get dubs, you get banned for the time that you got dubs for. So I was handing out in one thread, so people could opt in. It wasn't like I was just randomly picking people, but you could get banned for 99 hours just for posting in that thread. Somebody got trips and said mod bans himself. So I was banned for like a day from posting. It was wild. It was fun. It
That's
very
so
much
funny
felt-
because like
Oh.
you know that trips are very easy to manipulate. I think the image board users don't really know
Oh,
that.
I was using the Glowvol tag or no board volunteer tag when I was doing it. I wasn't using a trip code or anything.
Oh wait, so you're saying like I'm sorry, you're saying that if you get like trips in the thread, you have to ban yourself, right?
No. If somebody gets trips, they
Yeah,
get
that's
to
what
pick
I'm
someone
saying.
else to ban.
That's what
And
I'm
the
saying.
person who
Getting
got
trips. Yeah,
They
getting
said mod ban yourself.
yeah, like that's what I meant. Like getting trips,
Yep.
it's actually something that can be manipulated by just constantly refreshing.
Oh shoot! I did not know that.
Oh yeah. And remember Get Ball? You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
So, you know, I actually think, I can't prove it, but I mean, I think that because the board is slow enough, at least for a computer that's programmed well, to constantly be refreshing and to pick a time where it's very likely to get trips.
There was some bot software that was designed to. I remember downloading it, but never using it. That was designed to catch trips and play trip ball.
Yep,
So
yep.
that was written. That was written. But yeah,
I think
B
I
was,
even helped.
B was an interesting beast. It was fun. You just kind of had to throw things at the wall and see what worked. But it was a lot of fun.
Do you want to know how it came about?
How?
At least the version that was on 8chan. Totally on accident. So, the Vichan image board software, right, that I forked to make Infinity, the 8chan one, when you made a new site on it, it automatically created B. That's the first board. It's just in the source code that it creates a board called B, and then that will have the title random. And I just never deleted it, but that meant that it was in a weird position where it was not a user created board, it was a permanent one that could never be deleted. And so at least, you know, with the way it was programmed. And so I actually regretted this like a lot. I was, oh, geez, why did I?
Won't lie, if you had gone through and deleted it, it would have solved a lot of problems. Because by time the new Exodus happened, because we were still running off the idea, yeah, these pedos are disgusting, but we're following the law and nothing else.
Yep, you're right. I mean, I
Gave
really,
them a foothold.
yeah, I really should have. I just didn't know what the fuck I was doing, you know, and that's
It's one that you couldn't know beforehand, but you have to have ready beforehand. That is, I'd say, one of the most important things on an image board. Dealing with that issue before you even start, having the rules laid out, because those people are legalese, bureaucratic. They're like savants about bureaucracy.
they are.
They are absolute bureaucratic savants, and they will argue, and they will. Nobody else can tell that they're one of the pedos who just got banned for posting CP. So they come in and say, well, the mods are violating, and they manage to put together a good argument. If you just think of it from a logical perspective only, they were real nasty about it. So banning them was not only if you started banning them, that might as well be a, please go get on your VPN and spam the board with CP. Please do it. That might as well have been what that button was. And it doubled down as a, please go and convince the other users of the website that we're doing things unfairly, violating the rules, and make an absolute campaign of it. Anytime we had to enforce anything against that group, that's how it was every time.
Yep, and that's why we should have just wiped them all out. Like, literally, just... If you admit to being a pedophile, you're banned.
Yeah, it is difficult to do once you're in the spot, though.
It is. Oh, it's really hard.
Piona was a pain in the sight for the entire history of the board. That sicko.
But you know what? I really think that it could have gotten control of if Jim would have paid for the machine learning expert I saw.
I think that would have done a
Because as soon as we would have had that, we would have been able to just, automatically filter all of the CP spam. And then it would just be them arguing and posting other spam, which I could deal with. And so, but because Jim is useless.
Yup. And he doesn't care.
Yes. That is why I was not, I was just his employee. After October 2014, I was his employee. And so,
you realized there was no convincing him.
Yeah, no, he, and we know why now, because BBS Pink, right? I was able to prove that, he views them as his users and always has, and probably always will.
Sickos.
But he would pretend not to.
Yep.
Like, he is a real sociopath.
Sounds
They actually
right.
came to 8-Mo, by the way.
Oh, they did? Jeez.
Yeah.
They're so difficult to get rid of once they get a foothold, too. Like, I remember vividly. I actually found out recently because a friend of mine watched a documentary on Daisy's destruction, described a slight bit of it, and went, "Oh, wait, that's something somebody spammed at the boards when I tried to ban one of them." Like, I still get flashbacks from that shit. It is awful. It is awful stuff, and they would spam it. So, what you were dealing with before they would start spamming, before you banned them, it was really like a deal with the devil. It was like, okay, do you want to try and remove them?
It was like legit child pornography, not anime shit.
Yeah, no, it was completely.
It was the worst.
It was CSAM. It was
pure and I have to apologize to you a little bit because this was the worst job on the site, and I didn't want to do it. And that's why the system was how it was. And I would never really, that's why the Global Volunteers existed, right? Because I didn't want to do it. And if I had to do it, it would just, I would quit, because... So I've never seen the video you're talking about. I've never seen most, of that kind of content.
Even for those sickos, that was one of the worst. It stuck out as the worst piece I ever saw on the boards, and I only saw it posted, once.
And whenever I would actually see it, if I was on the board, I would get mad at you guys. I know that I would be. Do you remember?
Yep.
I'd be like, you guys aren't doing your jobs, Come crack the whip.
That may have been before my time, because I remember I was an absolute tryhard. Oh God, I would.
You were really good. No, you were one of the best that I ever had, honestly.
When I saw one, I would check their post history and check to see if there was any hidden boards, and then I'd show them to you, and then we could trash master it. God, I must have had at least 30 or so boards, if not more, that we trash mastered. I mean, maybe I'm
high, no, you were one of the.
Wow.
I don't want to be mean to the other Global Volunteers. Everybody has a life, right? And so not everybody can be as... So it's not like I'm trying to be any kind of way. However, I do think that some of them actually liked the content and were saving it. And I didn't know. But I some of the ways that they acted would make... the ways that they talked... And it would just make me feel like... Is this person doing this job to help this website, or are they doing it to build a collection? And, they knew that if I ever got proof of that, they would just be kicked out.
Yeah.
You remember how easily I would kick out a Global Volunteer if you want to tell people.
Yup. Oh, no, and the thought had crossed my mind, too, and it's a rough one, and it's like, there's no real way to prove it, and if they're deleting it, but you still don't want that as part of the part. If you find out that someone's doing that, yeet them immediately.
Of course.
100%.
They might not tell, not only just you don't want to associate with them, but they might not tell you that there's an extra board that they're getting some stuff from.
Part of the reason I'm doing this series is because I think image boards will always exist. And I know that when I was running 8chan,
Before you continue, I did see in the chat somebody asked Trashmaster. That was the it was the software Fred had to wipe a board. So if we discovered that a board was not admin was not administrating it and it had CP spam, they weren't cleaning it up, they weren't actioning it within so much time, we would go in. I'd send it to you, Fred.
Yeah, or if it was set up for that,
Trashmaster it.
or if it was set
Yep.
up for that purpose, you know, like
Which deleted the board, made it inaccessible, just a white page, and you
and
would
banned
have to
everyone.
reach. Yep, you'd have to reach out to the administration if you wanted to use that board for something else, and request the ID. And there was a few innocent ones like dolls. One of the two was a pedo board. One was about ball jointed dolls. That's how I found one of the two. I made a typo and went, "Oh, hey Fred, get the Trashmaster."
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I almost did before I resigned was give you access to that. That was
Shit.
that was almost going to be one of my last actions, you know, but I just
I was on my way out at the time. I read the writing on the walls.
Yeah.
I could kind of tell from your demeanor, and I had a gut feeling about this gym and this. Oh God, what's Ron's handle?
oh, it was Code Monkey.
Yeah, this Code Monkey guy. I just had kind of a gut feeling, and I went, I
Yeah,
don't know if
I
these
wish
are
I had
legit.
that feeling, but I was too prideful at the time.
Yeah, I kind of had
you
a vibe.
can't
and I
blame
was
yourself,
burned
Mark,
out at the
because
time.
I was with them in person. You know, I saw everything. You know, and okay, I didn't see everything. They kept shit from me. You know, they kept a lot of shit from me. But it's like when you're with people in person, and especially because you know the Watkinses drink a lot, and so you get to hear sometimes what they really think about things. You know, even when they're drunk, they'll be careful not to tell you like, "Oh yeah, by the way, stole 2 channel," but you know, they'll get more open about their actual thoughts about pedophiles, right? And so, you know, that's how I knew that like these people are just useless. They're useless. Yeah.
Like what's it called? They kept much more from me than they did from you, though. But they still didn't tell you about the QAnon stuff. I think I'll know because they never told me about the QAnon stuff. They just gave the same excuse. I even asked Ron about it, and he said, "I don't know."
Of course,
I asked him, "Are you QAnon?" He said he doesn't.
he doesn't know. Oh God, is Ron? Is Jim?
Yeah,
admitting
Jim
to,
and Ron
dementia?
actively lied to me.
Dementia?
Jim and Ron actively
Jeez.
lied to me and manipulated me.
Well, they lied to me too. I mean, neither of them
Yeah.
said that they
They
were
lied to
true
all of
me.
us.
Yeah, terrible, terrible people.
Yeah, they were manipulating me about that too. But like, remember that I resigned in 2016, which is way before Q started, so I would have had a lot less reason to talk to them about it. You know?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
I did ask,
Before
but
that time, I mean, I saw them a little bit in IRC. I think it was actually the inactivity. Like they didn't interact with anybody. They didn't really talk to anybody about stuff, and I think that may have been what made me go, something's off. Something's up.
well, I mean, you know, they didn't understand. They don't understand the community. They didn't understand that, like, okay, yes, IRC is very unpopular among the board, like the site's users. You know, they all view it as like a cabal. It could be in a way, but like it's an open cabal, right? Like you can just join it. So that wasn't a problem. But like you have to have some kind of way that the users can reach the administration in a way that like yeah, in like a tiered way. You know, I would ignore a lot of my DMs on there, but like they would also DM global volunteers if it mattered. And then if one of the global volunteers DM'd me, then I would actually do something. You see? So like, you know, that's how, and it has to be like that. Like you have to, if you're gonna run a large one, you have to have a way that even the most new user, if they find something really wrong, can get to an admin quickly if it matters. You know, like
Yeah. But you also have to have a spacer, even just for your own mental health. I mean, especially when you have groups like we had on B that we wished we
Yeah.
could get rid of, but would be. I mean, if we applied enough force, but it was. I think for us, it was kind of a. If we wanted to try, it would be this may work, and we didn't have a guarantee, but we knew it was going to flood the site.
yeah,
with
and
a bunch of
that's
CSAM
why
if we tried.
That's
So
why I
Earthquake hasn't
wanted the
been.
machine learning so badly.
Yep, that would have
Yeah.
knocked it right out.
And that's
But you
why.
got the spacers for those kind of people because you don't want them dealing with you every single day because they will. They are terminally online and will spend all day every day just making things up, running ops. They were nasty.
Well, I mean, I think that specific group. I don't know if it's an activist group or whatever it is, but we do know that it's some sort of group. They are active within image board circles or online circles, and I'm not sure if they're actively trying to take down image boards or whatever, but I do think there's.
Oh no, they're not. They just want to do their perverted shit on them.
Yeah.
I mean, to
see,
be
because
honest, it's
I was
not
wondering
much.
if that was the same thing with Kiwi Farms actually, because
Ah,
Josh mentioned that criminals are doing shady shit, like the Fed posting on poll and the CP stuff that happened on the B board, which is a similar issue we had with Hebe on 8 Mil. So we had to handle that very delicately because they were very slippery bastards in terms of legalese and.
Yeah. So if I could say something, the reason I'm doing this series, and I feel like I've already learned a lot, is because I think image boards will always exist. I do. I mean, I think that even if in a future society in like 100 years, when the internet is like really well understood, quote unquote, by like academia and stuff. I hope this helps with that. Let's see, but I think that even in that, like if the government, like tries to crack down, that they will just be, like in a dark net, whatever that would be called in that society. And so I think that it's important to have like a historical record of what went on. Because when I was trying to administer 8chan, all of the knowledge was proprietary. The 4chan's mods were not going to tell me anything. You know what I mean? Like, about how to moderate a site like
The
this.
offer you had was some guy that, what's it called, reverse engineered some really shitty stuff from Futaba-chan, I think it was.
So like, but no, I'm not even talking software. I'm talking about knowledge, right? Like knowledge of how to moderate or administrate. It's not out there, and knowledge like the fact that the pedophiles are actually really litigious and really like bureaucratic, and they just need to be kicked out. You know what I mean?
They're
like
really good at running off.
Yes,
so you
really
better
good
take
at
them
running
out
off.
soon and not later, because they will worm their way into your community, and they will be harder and harder to
and
pull
also
out
the ways that they
gone.
do it, because they start with a text only thing, right? To try to like they have such a clever way where they're like, we're gonna be the quote unquote virtuous ones. You know what I mean?
Oh, yep.
And
They're actually the same way on Twitter. So, and in a defense of image boards, it's not a unique image board problem.
No, it isn't.
They are
It
on
isn't.
Twitter, they are on Facebook, they are everywhere.
And
It's
they do the
those
same shit
platforms
everywhere.
are much bigger. An image board, you have so many boards which have so many threads, where on Facebook and so on and so forth, it is all just completely open. You can develop bubbles, algorithms kick in and create bubbles. So there may be an entire ring of them just hanging out, and nobody else runs into them because of a mix.
You want to know where that really happens?
8chan has a very open policy when it comes to VPNs and Tor, and they will abuse the hell out of that.
Yep.
There are legitimate use cases for Tor and VPNs.
People don't tend to know this, but WhatsApp has the worst. At least from what I've read, because I like to read like academic papers about this stuff. WhatsApp has the worst problem because it's end-to-end encrypted, and Facebook actually, Facebook owns WhatsApp, can't tell what's going on their own platform half the time, and so that app has the worst pedophile problem on the entire internet.
I believe it.
Yeah, actually, no.
It's
I
a proven
think I
fact.
remember.
Google it if you want to.
Somebody I've talked to who does investigations actually stumbled on some of them. No, it was Telegram. Telegram, they stumbled on some who were advertising on 4chan.
Hello?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah,
You dropped for a little bit.
Oh, I dropped for a moment. Oh, okay. Somebody I've talked to was doing an investigation and discovered a group advertising on 4chan trying to get people to their Telegram, which is a bunch of maps.
Yeah, I saw that too. Like I was looking into this local group thing on Telegram just for research on my own project. But I was.
Oh, there's a good question in the chat. Somebody says, or let's see, Bing Bing Wahoo says, how is 4chan able to block VPNs but other image boards can't? They use.
I answer that. The truth is that we don't block VPNs by choice. Like 4chan probably has a system in place where they could detect.
They do. That's what I was going to say, Mark. They have a system called Enemies List in place. Enemies List is essentially an IP intelligence company, you know, that has like an IPv4 and an IPv6 internet map that they're constantly keeping updated. And basically, they are monitoring free internet access and every other VPN company at all times. And whenever they add or delete servers, Enemies List deletes it and adds it to their database. It's a paid service because of this. Because, you know, they keep subscriptions essentially to all of these VPN providers so that they are knowing. Like, they probably have subscriptions to like thousands of VPN providers that never get used because like they're just using it to get the IPs. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's it called? Kino Pounder brought up a good point where Discord is really bad to CP and groomers. I would even argue that they were worse. A lot of the stuff that happened on 8chan was worse going on Discord. Like Discord was definitely worse than the worst of 8chan, I would argue.
Well, I think the best thing 8chan had going was transparency, which you don't see anywhere else. You had the deletion rate, so I think we were at like a 32-minute deletion rate between report and deletion, which is insanely high, actually, from what I remember you telling me, Fred.
Yes, that's a very high rate. The law allows you to get away with, and Jim knows, of course, like the law allows you to get away with like 24 or 48 hours, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing incredible. I've seen stuff stay up after reporting longer than that. And, but still, to drag it back a little bit, like, he could have done much better, and you know, on an image board you have to, because you have to be on Twitter. It's kind of like you have to, you know, you're just not going to see that. It's got an algorithm that is deciding what gets seen. It's not based on time, you know, and so on an image board you need way better than 32 minutes. I mean, I feel like for 90% of it you need it to be automatically filtered, which AI, it was capable of doing back then, but now it's capable of doing it at a rate like where there's no excuse. Yep, if you pay for it, which Jim did.
Oh yeah, but he had the money.
I don't think you could have afforded it back in the day.
No way. I couldn't have afforded it at all. And, you know, why should I have had to with the money he was paying me?
And I know we cannot have, I mean, not we, because I don't work up there officially, but I know the guys can't afford it on the 8mo side because they have their jobs and they're already struggling to get by with the website financials, whatever.
Yeah, so and you know, the thing is, like, Jim is this, like, really rich guy, legit. And he could have been doing things, you know, so much. This is why, okay, I bash on Hiroyuki a little bit, but I try to be fair about it. You know, I only post it when I think it's really funny. You know, like him flipping off and sticking his tongue out. Come on, that's really funny. Like, you know, or if I think it's really historically valuable. Like, I'm gonna be doing one where he like really talks about like the early history of 2channel. So 99 to 2004, very interesting article in Japanese that I'm having translated. So like, oh yeah, I don't know, did you see that? It's my pinned tweet, the one where he's sticking out his tongue and like flipping off the...
Yeah, I didn't read the article, but I saw the photo.
Yeah, it's a funny photo, isn't it, guys?
It is, yeah.
I hadn't seen that one yet. I'll have to check
just
it later.
Look at my Twitter profile. It's the pinned one still. It's lit. It's funny, I think. I mean, you know, I might put it on the stream while you guys are talking. By the way, time check, we have been going... and I do want to say to Rika, yeah, we're super late-o. We're super late-o because, you know, the person that was supposed to be here didn't come. And so our asses got saved by, you know, Sui. So it's not my fault that we're super late-o. It's this time legit. Like, it's not my fault. You know, the person that was supposed to be here didn't show up. So
yeah. So what you guys want to save the Kiwi stuff for last?
Actually, don't we want to get into the guide?
We do.
We still have. Yeah.
So let me talk about our time. So we're at an hour now. So I think we should plan next half hour, get into the guide. last half hour wrap up with Kiwi stuff, and then whatever, and then end it.
All right,
Sure.
sounds good. Sounds good.
Hey, actually, I just realized something. We need to censor that image real quick because, well, we used examples that definitely not gonna fly on YouTube.
You are correct. Yes. Okie dokie. I will. I will censor it locally on my side, and then okay. So, can you guys talk for a little while? You guys just talk to each other, decide what to talk about while I'm censoring it.
Oh shoot.
Oh, God. Got Ools in the chat, believe it or not. The board owner of TV.
Oh, TV's board owner. I've also got
Yeah,
a hold of Tech's board owner.
They can
reached out
both
to him.
come on, by the way. I would like to have.
Do you want me to invite him like now? Or
Well,
later on?
not like right now, you know, because I do want to try to plan these a little bit, but not to just have a clusterfuck of like 6 people in here,
Yeah.
just so it's not everybody talking over each other, because like.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him if he wants to come on next show.
Ask anybody that's like I don't know, ancient user, I guess, somebody that was around in this time, because what I'm trying to do is collect oral histories. That's really what this is, because I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's used in academic writing. It's a term. It's like when Native American tribes were dying out in the in 80s and 90s, like there were some people that were the last speakers of a language that was a tribal language that were dying, like a lot of them in the 70s also. And so oral histories were collected from these people, and as much of their language as they knew was collected. And so, I don't think that what I'm doing is on that level of importance, but I am trying to do that for Imageboards because, okay, we're not that old, right? But the suicide rate is a lot higher. I'm just going to be legit, and not only is the suicide rate higher, but this internet shit is so complex that you just forget it over time. And so I think that we are
Sorry
all...
to interrupt you, but just before somebody clips something, I should clarify the images in the 8chan Global Volunteer Guide. It's not CSAM or anything like that. It is like a cartoon of someone with a penis head shooting guns.
Yes. Yeah.
Should clarify that just so nobody misunderstands or intentionally misunderstands.
Oh, God. People are such assholes.
That's what, like, the pedophiles would do.
Yes, that's what they would do. You're right. Yep. And you're way better at thinking that way than me,
I've dealt with them enough that I kind of got to know their patterns and behaviors, and if you aren't familiar, it's very hard to notice and very easy to miss.
Yeah. So I will censor the guide, and I'll leave enough of it there so that it's obvious, like, what the picture is actually.
I could make it a little...
No, I'll do it.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
I will be doing it. That's, how about while I'm doing that, you guys discuss... one thing that I'm curious about is, like, okay, on these image boards, right, it's oftentimes the moderators are... the relationship they have with the users. Some boards, mods equals gods, right? On other boards, the moderators are constantly being criticized. Constantly. And it seems like the users hate them, but actually the users like them. So, talk about the relationship.
I'd also argue, actually, and sure, that's a good starter, but I'd also argue there's a third group where they're active members of the user base.
That's true, too.
Like,
yeah, talk about all three.
Yeah, like the waifu boards, that was definitely the case. It was an active member of the community we're usually moderating. But how was yours typically, Mark? I think you kind of fall into the hating on the on the mods constantly.
Well, I mean, what's it called? It's like, in my case, I would think the users... I welcome the criticism, personally speaking. I want people to criticize my faults so I know what to do better. It's not a matter of... I don't want people constantly sucking my dick saying mods are gods or whatever. I want people to criticize me, which is why I have the meta thread, but I don't want it... At the same time, I don't want it to derail actual video game discussion, which is why I tend to ban people for an hour or two. For example, a Nintendo thread or a PlayStation thread, they would talk about, oh, Mark did this, YZ, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And what I would do is I would ban them for about an hour, and I would redirect them to the meta thread where they could air their grievances with me, and I could then discuss said grievances with them and try to make them understand my point of view.
Not a bad methodology. I think like the waifu boards had a lot of offsite. There was like Discords and IRCs and Mumble chats that a lot of conversations like that went on. But having that kind of option is always good. Unfortunately, at the global level, that falls apart the moment you introduce the pedophile problem because they use that as their platform to harass the administration. Anytime they're inconvenienced, they're banned
100%. Like
for
even
being
with Acid and
sickos.
Hebe,
Yep.
even with Acid and Hebe, Price or whatever, administration, they needed proof before they did a board wipe because they knew that if they wiped out Hebe and B, that information would be used against the administration and the site as a whole.
Yep.
So what we need to do is we need to get definitive proof that these guys are acting in bad faith.
Yeah, they lived, especially the Piona one, and I remember their name because they lived on Meta and later Operate.
Yeah,
they
really
lived on those boards. I, at one point, foolishly in my naivety, tried to get a reign on that board, but even I eventually kind of gave up.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a fucked up situation, really, how slimy these people could be.
Yeah, they were really nasty. And I think what's kind of sad is like a lot of the way the media treated us and attacked us made it harder.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Easier. Like,
Especially during the AMA I had with THQ, I just felt so sorry for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody had come in and helped, I mean, I certainly would have been open to it. If somebody said, "Hey, here's ways you can fix it," I doubt Fred would have been against it. That's one. Sure. Oh my god! If people came to help, that would have been a completely different situation.
100%. And it doesn't exactly help that the media like painted the website as a whole exclusive sort of Nazi website when really there's a whole bunch of different communities on the website. It's like
I think every community I was part of disliked Pol. Every single one.
Get that. I mean, I know there's some overlap with V, but not as much as people would think. I mean, obviously, there just because they were like the two biggest boards at the time, there's bound to be some minor overlap. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like the way the press treated THQ was not fair at all.
No, it wasn't.
They completely lied about HN. They lied about THQ. It was a terrible situation. I felt terrible for them because we had Ask Me Anythings in the past, and all of them were, well, other than this one big one that I wanted to do because I was away from the Gamergate spheres. And I just wanted to have a random developer publisher come on and talk about video games with the community that loved video games.
Yeah,
and then the press freaked out because they didn't like the idea of someone going on a Gamergate website, quote Gamergate website, and talking with people that they don't like. And to me, that whole situation disgusted me. How there was 100+ articles on this THQ Nordic AMA that I helped set up because I wanted the publisher to talk with our community, our passion.
Yeah, and that I think dug us all in too, and made us think, okay, these are all bad faith people who just want to shut down. So, I mean, if there was somebody reaching out to offer advice, they may have, and we may have missed it because we were on the defensive.
That's
true. It just escalates things.
That's true. Yeah.
Sorry, I just added those pictures. Let me make sure it's actually censored.
No worries, it's fine.
Let me make sure it actually censored. Yes, okay, it did. You want to see how I censored these?
Oh boy, I was just going to use a blur.
Well, I mean, I just did it in Paint with the black boxes. Like, you can see how many little black boxes I had to put on that one. But yeah, no, this is all that was in the guide. And by the way, the middle image is my actual father. But we'll talk about that in actual order. So, let's start at the top here. Or, let's see, is the top of this the same as that?
Oh, yes. I see. That's how you did it.
The top, yeah. Okay, so that's why this is by Guy, right? Because this left one must have been mine, with the KDE.
I thought that was a summary version that you later put together. I think that was after.
Because it says at the bottom of this image, I'm scrolling it up again.
So one of them's abridged and one of them's unabridged.
Yeah, it says Guide by Guy 9000, which was the username of one of the global volunteers back in that time, right? And so that's not my username. However, it's like Linux font rendering, so it's possible that I helped a lot, you know? And
Yeah.
I don't think I would have put my own father there if I didn't help. Although maybe Guy did that as like a joke and I thought it was funny. I don't remember, so
I don't either.
that's why I said like these oral histories, so I'm trying to do them.
Oh, before we start reading it, there was also the I guess third board style with interaction, which is the more hands-off kind of invisible moderation. Like B was very with exceptions. B was very much that way. Just kind of keep hands off. Occasionally do something fun and very visible, but otherwise keep quiet to the shadows. Don't be posting in as mod. Just kind of enforce the rules. Leave it alone, which is I guess the third style. Which I think also works for many boards. And then in a global level, it was very much that style. Only enforce legal laws, leave everything else alone, which I think you did really fairly balanced and kind of were open about it. And I think that helped the site in a lot of ways.
Well, you have to actually believe the stuff you're saying, you know?
Yeah.
And Jim didn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I sensed when he got there. He wasn't active in the chat or IRC at all, and that's I guess where I sensed this guy doesn't actually believe this, does it? You the entire time, 100%. Even if you made mistakes, I'd tell people, he believes in what we're doing though.
Yeah, and when I
It's
didn't,
all
I quit.
genuine. Until you didn't.
yeah, no, straight up. Okay, so starting at the top, you know, just so that we don't run out of time, because I do try to only make these 2 hours. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bigger, just so it'll be a little bit blurry, but it'll be better for viewers on phones and stuff. Okay, so the guide starts out very funny. If you're reading this, congratulations! You've been personally selected by CopyPaste to become an Infinite Chan Global Volunteer. So, I mean, I do think I wrote that because, like, I used my actual username, which most of the users did not know, like, unless they went in the IRC and got trolled by somebody pretending to be me. Do you remember when people would do that? They would like join with the username Hot Wheels in the IRC.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and they would troll new people.
Oh, even to this day, if I bring up copy paste, people who were kind of aware of those circles or watching have no clue who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
if I say
yeah.
Hot Wheels, then they're sorry for dead naming, but then they go,
No,
"Oh
I
my
don't
god!"
care. You know, yeah. It's really a
It
thing.
just goes by Fred now.
Yeah, yeah, either's fine. Okay, so anyway, being a global volunteer is serious business, TM. And because of that, there are a number of things for you to learn before you start doing it for free. I like how seriously this was taken, you know, like, but it's a Chan. I mean, you have to kind of joke with people that are doing this for free, literally, like actually.
Of course, so they're doing it because they want to do it.
Yeah.
They don't have to do it. It's like we have to be grateful that they're taking their time to help us manage.
Yeah, I was always grateful, even though I would sometimes get mad, you know, at things. But I also, like, if I was mad, I would work it out. Like, people would say, well, Fred, you know, the problem is we just don't have enough. After you kicked out this person, okay. I understand. I'm going to pick someone. What time zone is the problem? You remember how we used to do it. So
Yeah, I know.
Or you were cranky because I woke you up at a call from the Philippines midday in the U.S. What to tell you the site's broken. Please come help fix.
It was nice, though.
Users are screaming.
I used to go constantly to Ron, Ryu, and Ken about the fucking site breaking. Holy shit.
I only had to do it every once in a blue moon, thankfully. It was
well, you know, because I was way
better.
better at administering the server.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's not to say that I was great. It was my first large website. I did way better.
None of us had no idea what the fuck we were.
Yeah, legitimately. But, you know, I actually think that the lack of knowledge in the social department is way worse than in the technical department, because the tech stuff you can learn from other books. Like, it doesn't need to be a book about image boards, but this stuff, you can't learn anywhere. You know? Okay, so, with that said, if you can see like what's on the screen right now, we're looking at the top green and yellow ones. These were basically, as far as I can tell, the green was the rule for dealing with CSAM. The yellow was everything else, like spam, rating, and you can and it's interesting looking at this list to me because you can see how few rules there were, right? Like we really only cared about those two things, like green seems to be mostly about CSAM. And I don't know if that's the right way to say that acronym, CSAM.
Yeah, I think CSAM works. I
Okay.
think
Yeah,
I've never
whatever.
actually heard it
It's
spoken.
fine.
Yeah, who cares? YOLO.
Oh, for the audience, if you're not aware, CSAM is child sexual abuse material. Basically, the newer term for CP because it's so overused nowadays. I mean,
And
people
also,
will
it's not
know-
accurate because using the term pornography for that implies
Yeah,
that it's
kind of implies
Yeah,
it's-
it's not an accurate term.
Yep.
CSAM
Abuse
is a better
material is more accurate, which
Yeah.
indicates this is evidence of a child being abused.
Exactly.
Which is what it is
It's
and why
evi-
it's illegal.
yes. It's evidence of abuse, not there you go. Okay, so with that said, this photo uses the old term, but that's only because CSAM didn't exist as a term back then.
It wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah. With that said, I want to know your opinion on or at least whatever you two think about this issue, because personally, I now think that we should not have even tried. We should have just yeeted them out of the board, and that this advice is totally wrong.
I think the child model should have been just.
Yep, agree. Anybody admits they're a pedophile, out.
Yeah. Oh, admitting? Yeah, just out. Gone.
Out. Even,
you go.
yeah. So I think that this guide is basically useless now. You know what I mean? Because you can see us trying to galaxy brain our way into somehow allowing them, and it was never going to fucking work. And the way that they were able to trick us into doing this was just with their bureaucracy.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was the fallacy of the canary in the coal mine. For everyone thought that they were a canary in the coal mine. If they were gone, that was a step. It was one step. And people were hounding us so much that we got defensive and dug our heels in and ran with that. If there had been less pressure, I'm sure we probably would have went, no, fuck these guys.
All right, so moving on.
Oh, wait, I will say one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the DOS test is still useful because it helps identify, do I just ban and delete this and move on and keep going on with the day, or should I actually make report the IP, put in a cyber tip report, that kind of stuff. It helps identify that. I find it very useful. Even still, I have encountered and dealt with stuff where I've used the DOS test to go, okay, yeah, I need to be reporting this to the police.
That's very interesting. Yeah, because that's what the cops use, right? That's how they decide. And so if you're actually moderating an image board, do you report somebody's IP? That's how you decide. Yeah. That's...
Yep. I only did it once in a while when I was kind of certain they weren't using a VPN. If it was regular posting history, and they revealed maybe some identifying information, I'd delete the offending post, and then might leave the rest of their post history, ban them, leave the rest of the post history, and report it. I think is what I would do. So there was at least something for investigators to look at.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I allowed you guys to do that. I didn't tell Jim about it though, because he probably would have said not to.
Probably.
Oh no, I'm not kidding. He would have been like, "Oh, but our users' privacy. Why do we have to?" Really, I know him.
Oh, screw that. If I saw somebody posting CSAM, I was checking their post history to check that they weren't running on another board.
Right, and checking their IP, to see if it was residential so you could report them to the cops, right? Yeah,
Yep.
Very based. I mean, I don't think I ever talked about that with the Global Volunteers just because I knew that, if it leaked, that Jim would be like, oh, what are you guys doing? You're sending IPs to the police? He's a creep. But, not saying that he is just to clarify that he is one. I'm just saying, he doesn't care that they're his users. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, because I don't think, that's useful to, at least other than to know to report someone to the cops. It's so interesting historically, though. Okay, when you first log into your newly made Global Volunteer account, it will probably look something like this. So this oh my god, this interface with that long board list, it was awful, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Well, I never really had to touch that too much. It was all in the administration section, really.
That's true. I mean, you probably had the global report queue like bookmarked, right? And then the ban appeals bookmarked. So you would probably never look at the dashboard.
Shit.
Oh.
Oh yeah, Mark forgot to say in the beginning, but he is living in a place where like the fire alarm randomly goes off.
Oh, gotcha.
When that happens, he'll just have to drop for 5 minutes, so it'll just be me and you. He was supposed to like remember to say it at the beginning, but this is not like a super professional stream, so he forgot, I forgot, everyone forgot. Sorry. Sorry, headphone users. Yeah.
No worries.
Okay. Yeah. So whenever the alarm stops for him, he'll just come back. But okay, when you first, so yeah, this dashboard, I think it's really funny that I remember that I specifically kept around the post that said "Welcome to 8chan.co" for like ever, because I wanted people to know how old the site was, and that like you are coming to a place that has been here for over a year, and you are not to try to impose anything on me. You know, like yeah, because you know we just got so many new users in 2014 that did not help me, you know, moderate, administrate, do anything for the first year. You know what I mean? Like, I had already. I'm not trying to be a dick either. I'm just saying, like, you know, I had already built up a rapport with certain people, and so like if you were new and you're just beefing with the global volunteers that were already there, you know what I mean? And you know you weren't here at all. Like, you know, maybe give them a chance. That's all.
I think I was one of few who had any real interaction with some of the pre-existing communities, because there was a section of Russian Rose and Maiden fans who used it as kind of a directory of their threads on Russian boards.
Yeah.
But they were a bit grumpy at you, I think, for maybe taking a board when the exodus happened or something, maybe a misunderstanding. But that gave me a little insight to the older communities that were around, which most people didn't really ever see. A lot of people still think that's when the website existed, and I was like, no.
Yeah, no, it started October 24th, 2013, and I left that post there just so people knew. Okay, so that's interesting. I forgot that I did that, so I'm really glad you saved this.
I'm a data hoarder. I save everything, so I probably
very
have more
good.
and stuff.
Yeah, very good. You know, if you have any other old history stuff like this, I'd like it, because I'll put it on archive.org and stuff. Okay, so where it says, and I will put the uncensored version of this on archive.org because it doesn't have any illegal content. It's just weird. Okay. Do not respond to local reports under report queue. Yeah, only deal with reports listed under global reports. This was 8chan's weird system where, like, it's like Reddit. I based it on Reddit. It makes people really mad to hear it, but it's really true. You know, I was viewing the board owners as basically equivalent to a subreddit moderator, right? And so, you know, it just, we had a different job. Global volunteers, rather, had a different job. And then I had a different job than everybody. I'm the only one that knows what my job was like. So, okay. Global volunteers are able to post what they read. Yeah, it tells you how to use the cap code. Because wasn't Jim really mean about you guys using the cap code? Like, he wouldn't let you do it?
This is a question for you,
Me? No, that's for you.
Yeah, it's for you, Mark.
I guess it is for me. So he would not let me use it outside of the News Plus stuff.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I think I had open reign to use it kind of as needed. If I did something dumb,
I
you'd yell at me
was
for
not
it.
allowed to use it outside of News Plus, from what I recall. Hell, I wasn't allowed to be a global volunteer outside of News Plus.
But he didn't understand that, like, okay, the global volunteers do it #for free, which means that there needs to be some benefit that there, even if it's like a small one, right? And the ability to post as global volunteer on B seems like a small thing. But that EP-ness thing, to use a real word, it's not worth nothing, is it?
Oh, God.
It's worth something.
It was kind of nice. I mean, I think my main reasons were more keeping the site up.
Oh, of course.
I was part of, but
of course.
It was fun to use once in a while. Like the
yeah, and
I mentioned.
If I were to just take it away, or not, and especially for no reason, right? Like, It just seems like I'm trying to censor y'all.
Yeah, it was fun to be able to go in and just make a dubs you ban, trips you ban somebody else thread. Those were fun. It was fun to be able to do that.
And if you don't keep people's jobs fun, they won't keep wanting to do them. That's really, and this job is very hard. So,
oh god, it is.
Yeah. All right. So scrolling up some more. This is what the global report queue looked like. I like how it says how many times a thread was reported.
By the way,
it's very
the most
useful.
convoluted system we had in terms of banning people, especially on mobile, this thing was terrible. These little icons says S+D.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, it came from Bichan, and I didn't. I guess I did. It took me a long time to understand that. Like, oh yeah, people actually want to be.
Especially on mobile, because I had fat button
yeah.
thumbs, and I would sometimes hit these plus instead of just.
Well, I mean, I do too, especially now. It's just I didn't think that but most of them have like real jobs and they're gonna want to be moderating from mobile. You know what I mean? Like I figured that everybody would just do it from a computer, and it took me. Oh, I'm autistic, so it took me forever to understand that. Like.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like the icons were just so small, and it was like the worst.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat also mentioned something important, that it's very much as well having that global volunteer posting lets people know that if you have to step in and say something, it's legitimately from a global volunteer.
Oh, right, of course.
Which is important.
Yes, but not only that, it's like, okay, allowing the global volunteers to be able to post. The reason that Jim doesn't want it to happen is because he wants all communication that seems to be coming from a staff member to be okayed by him, right? Like, you get that,
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want you to be able to start drama, ever. Like, how was Mark able to ruin the V-board by him? By using the cap code.
Yep.
So that's why he limited it, but if you guys remember, it was never a rule during my time that you couldn't advertise another image board. You always could.
Yep.
Like, I think 4chan still has the 8chan name blocked.
I believe they do. They block a lot of names, which is just kind of like, come on.
I know, right? Like,
Swami is one of the blocked names. Wow. Yeah, Swami is one of the blocked names. Swami and then their trip code, one of the blocked names.
That's hilarious, because what's it called? I remember Swami had this whole disabled veteran thing going on. So that was quite the trip.
So here's something about cross-board raids. I remember when these used to happen, but you guys had to deal with them a lot more, so maybe go into that.
Rip in peace, Furry.
Yeah, well, Ron messed that up.
He really did. It was a really shitty situation.
Yeah, he's just a dick. I probably, did more to protect... Okay, so the reason that this cross-board raid stuff is there is because I wanted to protect basically every board, from being raided, and so, no matter what it was about, and so, obviously I had private reasons for protecting Furry as much as I did, right, as you all now know, but, even boards I didn't care about, in terms of, that I didn't read, I cared about in terms of not ever getting raided, /fam, Swami's board, /lefty poll. It's true that I went there sometimes to argue with them, but I didn't use it that much. And just other small boards that it would sometimes just randomly get raided because somebody's really mad at the internet for some reason. Yeah. So...
I guess you could say they were bad at the internet.
Yes, yeah. Very bad at the internet. Well, okay, being bad at the internet leads to getting mad at the internet, I was a little bit bad at the internet, very much. What a shame for the host of this reputable, well-respected podcast to get mad at the internet. But I was super mad earlier at our guest who was supposed to be here for not showing up.
That was certain. It happens.
Yeah. It only lasted 3 seconds, though. I sent all those messages, and I was like, oh, yeah, they didn't really do anything that bad.
Poor fella.
Yeah, poor... I feel bad, just because, they didn't really do anything that bad. It's just, I don't cope well with time.
Did you apologize to them, or not?
I did, yeah. Check my timeline. I did, a few minutes after. And That's why I said I'm gonna watch The Devil Wears Prada after this. Like legit. I mean, sometimes I can just be like, you have no respect for me or what I'm doing, and you just walk all the, like that kind of attitude. I try not to do
Yeah.
it, but like, I don't know. I'm really a specific way about times and clocks, and if I expect something to happen and somebody hasn't already warned me that it's not going to, and it doesn't happen, I get really bad. I don't know why. It's an autism thing, So yeah, like legitimately, it's a symptom. Okay. Yeah, I think there's not much else to say about cross-board raids. Oh, but this is interesting. What not to do. So, never interfere in the affairs of boards you don't own or volunteer for. So yeah, that's so interesting because like that would have never been in 4chan's rules, right? Because they viewed their community differently. That like they just it wasn't like Reddit, right? Like all the boards, every mod has the right to just interfere, quote unquote interfere, right? Like, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. It depends on the site, if that applies or not. Of course, never leak sensitive information or use any sensitive information to, personal gain. Like those are all common sense, but I think the fact that they're listed at all kind of points to the fact that like a lot of Imageboard users tend to be autistic, actually autistic, right? And it helps to spell things out, because sometimes it's not due to malice. It's just due to them not considering how other people would feel about, for example, them selling the ability to delete posts, right? Like somebody can be that affected, where they just don't think that anyone will care, especially if the posts are bad. You see, yeah.
As a bit of an aside about not thinking through what people might care about, and speaking of F, always check with your user base, especially if you're coming onto a board that you think is dead. Check with the user base. I made the very terrible mistake of switching F to the new F format that I'd commissioned, like 4chan's F, and wiped a ton of threads, even though it was barely active. The owner had left completely. I had not considered the user, but the few users that were on there, and they were not happy with me, and very understandably so. I should have jumped in and checked first and said, hey, planning on doing this, make sure we archive everything, so on and so forth. But always check in with your user base as well. Don't be afraid to do it, because sometimes you will save yourself headache and being hated by more people.
You commissioned a change to the software, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. I commissioned the 4chan F style board.
Right, I remember enabling it.
Yep, but
I don't remember any of the drama.
User base.
Oh, just so everyone knows, Discord crashed on me. So, but they're back now. Yep, you guys are back now. Sorry, sometimes it happens, but that was good that it came back as soon as Discord reopened. Discord sometimes relaunches on Linux. It's crap. Yeah,
I have the same problem with Element. I don't know what.
Oh, you have the same issue. Well, that's good that it's not only me. Whatever. The Discord developers are terrible. Anyway, they are bad at the internet. Call out Discord. Okay.
Yeah. Boy.
Oh, Internet Insanity asked. The original F was in the style of a regular 8chan board. So when it switched to the new system, it deleted all of the posts and all of the threads. That's how it ended up deleting everything. So there were like a few Flash projects archived there. Hopefully we're saved, not messed up by my bungling.
Okay, so we are at 1 hour 33. I think we've hit the time where like it's just anything to talk about, keyword farms.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
I think there's a couple points to be made yet. You did mention, don't leak sensitive info. I wanted to touch on, I think, something, and that this is actually kind of a criticism for you, Fred. One of the most important things I'd say is to not let, especially bad actors, disillusion and distance you from the user base. That is what the pedophiles did, and they had you completely separated from the user base. You used to be super active on meta, very engaged, and once they took over Operate, it was much rarer that you were seeing. I think you've kind of forgotten some of the good times. Like I remember there was it was either a happy birthday or a Merry Christmas thread, where just tons of Anons wishing you a Merry Christmas.
I do. I remember. Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. It's a good criticism. It really is. Like, don't let the bad people on the site run the site, right? Like,
Yeah,
and,
100%.
yeah.
Or run your interpretation of the site too.
Yes, totally true. Like, don't. Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that I was particularly difficult because, especially back then, like I was.
You were
just,
going
like,
through some shit and dealing with Jim, so
Yeah.
understandable.
But it
You
was
had to
also,
deal with
like-
Jim IRL.
But it was also just like mental shit of, well, if you give a good argument, I have to listen to it. No matter who you are. And
Yep.
I don't think that way anymore because
Sometimes with pedophiles, you gotta sometimes kick in some just common sense thinking and
Yes.
say, logistically and bureaucratically, that makes a lot of sense. But you're a fucking pedophile. Get the fuck out.
exactly.
We did that with a pedophile on my who showed up.
I think
and
that's
he-
like if people
he-
take nothing else away from this stream, take that away. Don't allow them on at all.
Yeah. And use your common sense, because he would come back and he'd say, well, there's no rule against being a pedophile on this board, so he
There
just made
should
a
be.
rule. No,
Yeah, add the board. Yes, add a
No
rule that needs to be a global rule.
we added no Thai child fuckers to the my rules because of this guy. Oh god, he was nasty. We tricked him into getting on a voice call and admitting that he flew to Thailand. And then we
Jesus
yeeted him
Christ.
out. Yeah, he was a nasty piece of work. Still active on YouTube.
Ugh.
Nasty fucker.
I hope he goes to
But,
jail.
Oh, I'm hoping to.
Same.
Well,
That's a story for another day.
yeah.
What's called- I
Was there
wanted to
anything
talk
else
about,
on the
Kiwi
moderation
real
stuff, or is it all right to move on? Because I was thinking, actually, I sometimes do a break before, like, the final section where we just talk about whatever. And
I kind of wanted to talk about Kiwi, honestly, because I felt that was the big news of the month or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it may be worth its own entire stream. I see a lot in the chat talking about Kiwi. It might be enough that maybe, I don't know when you're next available, maybe even tomorrow, and you might have some folks.
yeah,
to talk
maybe.
about that
I don't know about tomorrow. Maybe, I don't know. Like,
Or
can't commit to
sometime this
tomorrow.
week, because I
I could definitely
um,
commit to sometime this week.
Well, Internet Insanity, I was in charge of Desu on 8chan, as well as several other boards I was involved with, but I've gone back before that. I don't really do any active work on any image boards anymore. Mostly just hang around the Rose and Maiden community.
I think that's a great question because the way that I chose Global Volunteers was very capitalist minded, really, because I wanted them to have always something to lose so that they wouldn't fuck things up. And, like, what I mean by fuck things up is, like, do a massive leak of IPs or do a massive ban that nobody would be able to do for, like, until I was able to get up and fix it, that kind of thing. And so the punishment for fucking up as a global volunteer was super severe. At least the maximum punishment. Because it would be, I will take your boards away from you, and give them to someone else. And it wouldn't just be someone else. People knew that I would pick the user that you hate the most. So,
I didn't realize that, actually.
Yep.
I guess maybe I just wasn't worried about it, so
Yeah.
I knew I was doing my job well, so it didn't even occur to me.
yeah, no, you never, and I never actually had to
I
do
was a
it.
bit of a try-hard.
The threat
I
was
was a
enough.
tryhard.
The threat was enough that I never had to actually do it. You see? But, like,
Yep.
the threat was enough because, yeah, it sucks to say, but, like, people will just be assholes if you just say, okay, anybody can be a global volunteer if you like this website. No, it's
You'd have so many ops going on.
yeah, you have
Look
to
at
have
the Kiwi
something to
farms.
lose. You have to have something to lose that's important to you. And so they were chosen from the top board owners. And funny enough, Desu was a big exception. And the reason
it was.
the reason you were chosen is because you did that. You managed B for a while, and so that was a top 10 board, and so you were allowed to be promoted again.
Through technicality.
Technicalities are amazing, but
The only exception I think was me. I was never become a board owner. I don't know.
you never became a global volunteer. Well, there was a real reason. It was the global political neutrality thing. So there were 2 boards that were never allowed to become global volunteers. 3 actually, right? VPOL, GGHQ, never allowed. Just because I felt that it would skew politics too much. And
Yeah, that's fair.
Lefty Pro as well, like they couldn't. Like those top boards. It's true they were in the top, but they weren't allowed due to the politics. So that's why the top board, like the global volunteers, were people like Desu or Guy 9000 who had tech, Tenisu who had A. Yeah, I know kind of sucks, Mark. But I did it for a reason.
It was a good reason, though. It was a good reason.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, well, okay, thank you. I don't think that an 8chan style site is like that possible to run these days. I don't even think it was possible to run back then. I just think we were dumb enough to think that it was.
Very difficult.
Yeah, I do think that somebody with Jim's level of money could do it though. But like,
I don't think the community would be as good though. He could throw money at it, but I don't think he could ever bring together what was on 8chan.
Oh, of course not.
Back in the day, he could never.
I don't even know if Hiroyuki could. And Hiroyuki has like that level of money, but it's not easy.
Well, I mean,
no, it's not, and the troubles we faced. But I still look back, and it's literally for a lot of it when I kind of step back. As much as times it felt like everything was awful at times, we got a snapshot of humanity, its best and its worst. Because as much as we had the pedophiles and dealing with those sickos, there was a board called Kind for especially anybody in the audience who wasn't familiar with 8chan. We literally had a board just called Kind, which was people being nice to each other. They barely had to moderate it, barely had to enforce the rules, and everyone was just polite, civil, and really nice. People helping people, being bros to each other. It was kind of a really beautiful site, and it
wasn't that board rated by Intel or something like that?
It was rated by Intel at one point. What board wasn't?
That's true. Yeah. That was just an unfortunate situation that I don't know. It didn't help that Infinity Next tank, so it's not like we could have taken care of it. So.
Yeah, Kind left me, and it's a thought I've had bouncing around in my head a lot. Is I don't think people from outside of Imageboards realize a lot of people on Imageboards, I believe, are people who think they're bad people and don't believe that they can be good people, but wish they could. That's what you take away from Kind, anyway.
I believe Imageboard users are just, for the most part, normal people who just have different opinions from the norm. Like in V's case, at least in V's case, I know they're just normal people who like video games. But
yeah, it's just a snapshot of humanity, like any other website.
Pretty much. I mean, whatchamacallit, there are people who over-exaggerate certain things, like 8chan is this super Nazi pedophile community, and it's like, yeah, part of it was, but most of it wasn't.
Well, Reddit was way worse. Also during the 2015,
Reddit and Discord were way worse in that regard.
Yeah, legit.
The chat brought up Baphomet actually, and somebody did earlier in the stream. I don't think Baphomet never did too much for the crossboard rating. It was mostly out of sight. But somebody asked earlier, what happened to Baphomet? Did you ever deal with any legal trouble because of them, or did you just have to answer to some federal reports? Because I remember it was in your transparency reports you'd occasionally have to turn over info.
Yeah, those would be.
I'm kind of curious about that.
Those would be the best sources because I don't remember that well because it was never a major issue, right? I would just, I didn't really view it as a problem to have to release users' information. Sorry, but if you broke a law on the website and your operational security is bad, and I hope it's bad. If you broke a law that's actually, you threatened people or you,
or chances are you're a pedo.
Yeah, exactly. I hope your operational security is bad. So whenever I would get reports about, you're right, I did get a few about that board. I would just send the cops whatever they asked for, you know? Because I never got one that was about, at least from the U.S., that was about something that wasn't actually illegal in the U.S. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
I would just give whatever I had every single time. So, you know,
I actually had to file a police report because of that. They threatened,
Oh wow.
in my name, that I would bomb a school.
Oh jeez.
what
So
year did
I had
that
to file a
happen?
police report to have myself under police eye, so I wouldn't get arrested. And in the event that a school calls off a bomb threat and they arrest me for the fake threat.
Wow, that's crazy, Mark.
Jeez.
What year did that happen in?
I think it was either 16 or 17.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Oh.
Damn.
The docs of my old autism home came out. Basically, it leaked out. They were trying to spread it, and they were looking for schools around the area. And Baphomet found a school near me,
Jeez.
and they tried to use my picture to threaten a bomb.
You know, this is a
Yikes.
great topic because, like, okay, Imageboard users can be huge assholes to the admins and the mods and the staff. Yes. And I have received a death threat before for changing the size of a font by 2 points. Literally. That's all I did.
Jesus.
Yeah, but they're never going to go through with it.
Oh, no, of course not. And, but I think, Mark, the things they've done to you have been the most severe of anyone I've ever heard. Like, the Hollow Shooter put you in his manifesto.
Yeah, it's true.
Jeez.
Because
Yikes.
you're Jewish, that's it. That's the only reason.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I have no tolerance for Fed posting.
Yeah, and lied about what, lied about you and said that you paid. I know you, Mark. You don't have 1 Bitcoin to send to anybody. You know, like.
I really don't. I mean, I'm 20K in debt. I'm finally getting a job. Took over 2 years. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. I'm really glad you brought it up because, like, you know, that's another reason to what Desu was saying earlier. Like, don't let the worst users run the place. It is
Of course,
totally,
of course.
you know, after what you just described, because I don't think I was the admin anymore at that time. If that had happened while I was administrator, I probably would have shut down Baphomet. Probably, right? Like, just because
Yeah.
you're threatening, you know, like, oh my God, yeah. But of course, Jim didn't do that for you, did he?
Nah, Ron didn't do that. What's it called? I know it was after Infinity Next. That much I do know.
Did
Yeah.
Baphomet make a resurgence? I thought it had kind of died out.
No,
after
we're
a while.
talking about back in like 17 or 16.
Yeah,
or
sometimes
whatever.
people forget how early I quit. I quit in 2016. So, you know,
Yeah, I
even though
don't
the stuff that
think
Mark's
I'm bored of
talking
that.
about is old, you know, if I wasn't actively admin anymore, I don't know all of it. So,
Yeah. So basically, they used my information. They even have they even made an infographic calling me a child predator or some.
God,
like that.
that's awful.
As they do.
And
Welcome to Pedos 101.
Yeah.
If you expose them, yeah, they'll do things like make up fake logs. I actually had
Yeah.
somebody make fake logs that I was releasing people's information and selling it and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
It
they're
wasn't a
fucking
regular
insane.
user. It was more of a personal drama and a stalker. But thankfully, I was smart enough to go, hey, yeah, you want to screen share Skype right now with one of my other mods? And in 30 seconds, it was debunked.
Yeah, go figure. But what's it called? I still love doing what I do. I still love the V community, which is why I continue doing what I do. I don't.
and I
let
think that's
the-
impressive that you still love them despite every fucked up thing they've done to you.
Well, it wasn't.
Oh, I
only
know,
a-
but I just mean Imageboard users. You know what I mean?
I gotcha. Yeah, the minor fringe. I understand.
Yeah.
Because V is a lot of people involved. I mean, like, I think Acid told me we have about 5 million people a year, which is a lot of fucking people considering what HN went through. And I'm very happy with the results 8-0 have gotten, even though it's not what even HN was after Finny Next. But I'm just happy that I was able to preserve some of that culture. If that makes sense.
It makes sense to me. You know, I wouldn't have done the same thing in your position, but then again, like, you know, it's
Yeah,
why I
we're-
like
we're
having you
super
here.
people, you know?
Yeah, it's why I like having you here because you still have experience actively. You know what I mean? and so you
I
can
do,
you
yeah.
can speak to that's why I think you're a great counterbalance for me. So okay,
Yeah.
we are almost at the end. I wanted to know. It's been 1 hour 49. So we'll really only have another 5 minutes because I always end it with some Korean song. So, um, closing thoughts from both of you. I'll play the song. I'll end the stream. Okay.
Mark, you
I,
go first. I've never done a closing thoughts, so.
I have never done a closing thought either. I guess in terms of moderation, just hire a team. Teamwork is the most important thing. Do not do everything on your own. No one, especially when running a big board, you cannot do anything on your alone. You always have to work with a team. Teamwork is important. I can't stress this enough. Work with the team.
I'd say, especially for me, the biggest thing is keep maybe even in another identity in with parts of your user base. Frequent and look at
Absolutely.
what they're saying so you get a feel for the whole user base, not just the part that will target you. Not may, it will target you. There will be a part that always will. Ban the pedos off the bat. Just don't let them get a foothold at all.
And the most important thing is to have a vision of what you want to do with your
Yep.
board and how you want to run it.
Yep.
Okay,
Sorry,
great.
I left that part
No,
out.
you're good. You're good. You're good. No, that's a good addition.
I
That's a
think
good
that's
addition.
that's a great place to end it. Thank you both for having time. We can do another one, like to talk about like other Kiwi Farms drama. I'm sure more.
Yeah, I
shit will
want to talk
Sit
about the
on
Kiwi
that
Farms drama, but we didn't have enough time.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
people are really looking for a long one on that, so they probably deserve a full stream
They
dedicated
do.
to
They
it rather
do.
than
We can't
end of
just
it.
do it in 2 minutes at
It's-
the end here. It's
I
not fair.
kept away from that kind of stuff. So, actually, no, I will touch on that in one aspect. Josh is a dick. I always thought Josh was a dick, in IRC especially when the Infinity Next IP leaks happened. He was a complete dick about it. He really did not feel like he did anything wrong, or not necessarily
Even
did
though he
anything wrong.
did.
He didn't have to care. He felt like he
Yeah,
did not have to care at all, and that he was getting hounded for nothing. Even if it was not his fault whatsoever, someone found an exploit, as they do on websites. The way he handled it and behaved to the user base was disgusting. We had boards like Egypt on that website. If any of them got found out talking shit on their government, they'd be dead. And he just was very flippant, nonchalant, didn't give a damn about anybody whose IP got leaked, anybody who was potentially exposed, even in private. I remember you having to yell at him, and I yelled at him quite a bit too. So I've always avoided the guy in his site like the plague, because
Yeah, I have no
He was a
love for Kiwis either. I just wanted to know what the deal was because obviously this looked like another 8chan situation, which I was personally against back then, and I'm against kicking off websites just for being edgy now. So obviously, I want to know if there's something more to it.
Sure. I really think we need to have a full one about that because we're likely to disagree a lot. So, and I think we should be able to talk that through and not, just try to shove it into 2
not
minutes.
just shove it in at the end. And that's really all I got on Josh. Somebody did mention that asked if you wanted to go on Ricada's stream. He's one of Jim's buddies. Jim Medeker, not Jim Watkins.
Is that Nick?
Patrick?
Is that Nick Ricada? That's how I think it's pronounced, but maybe it's
Yeah,
really
the
Ricada.
lawyer guy. Want me to join with you?
Is it the lawyer?
Yeah, it's the lawyer.
Well, I'll think about it. I maybe no. But I'll think about it.
Well, if you're going on, let me come on too because
Okay,
I was on
sure.
it
Yeah.
before.
I think honestly, Mark, I think maybe you understand those guys better. You should just do it. Cause okay, when it comes to those types, especially Medicare, they don't want a debate. They don't want a discussion. Medicare just wants to oink at you, like you did to Ethan Ralph, right? Or
The point I'll give Medeker is he admits it. Everyone else is like, we're America first, or we're saving the West. Jim will tell you straight up, oh yeah, buy my hats.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. He's very
open about it. Everyone else,
Yeah, and so I mean,
which is its own thing. Which is
if
its
it's
own
gonna
thing,
be a
I
very
suppose.
if it's gonna be a very hostile stream, which is fine. I don't mind doing hostile debates, but they have to have rules, and there has to be some kind of like mute system. You know what I mean? Where I talk for a few minutes, then you talk for a few minutes. Like because when the stream is that hostile, which it happens, and there are no rules, you just get what they call internet blood sports, right? With Eat the Drow screaming on the one end,
Oh,
and
I
Americans
never
screaming on
survived
the
internet
other.
blood sport.
Yeah, and I don't do that.
I'd never
I'm
survive.
too chill
I'm
for
way too
that,
nice and almost to push over.
Yeah, I would just
Yeah,
close the
it could
tab
be
and
fun
be
though. It could
like,
be fun to just go on and talk shit with Josh or whatever.
sure. It does sound fun, but I would have to talk to them a little and figure out if I actually wanted to. So,
Let me
I
just
can't
know
say
anyway.
yes right now. With that
Yeah.
said, though, it's time to end it.
Somebody asked about a stream with Collins, and I mean, if we've got a 4chan janitor, maybe the next time you cover 8chan, that'd be really interesting.
It sure would be. Yeah. Yeah.
Not this stream. Doesn't sound like from you.
No,
Ready to wrap up.
not this exact stream, but anybody can reach out to either Mark or I. Mark is more likely to reply in a timely manner. I'm just being honest, just because I have so many fucking DMs.
Can confirm.
Yes, yeah, like Mark will reply to you quick, and I will probably not reply quick, but I'm still very interested.
I work for a living, so I probably won't respond quick if anybody
Yeah.
gets a hold of me either. Ironically, guess what I do now?
You said it in the beginning. You're an operations manager. Remember?
Manage janitors.
Oh,
No.
like actual
That
janitors,
is
right? That
something.
clean shit.
It comes full circle.
Oh my
Do you pay them
god.
in Hot Pockets? Please tell me you pay them in Hot
I
Pockets.
should get them Hot Pockets one day. You still owe me Hot Pockets, by the way, Fred.
Do I? Okay, well, I can actually afford to go through with that now. How many do you want?
Hell yeah. One, but gold plated.
One? A gold plated Hot Pocket? Do you know how gross that would become? Because, like, it would just rot in the middle.
Oh god, you're right.
Hey, I'm ending this stream now. When I end it, it goes for a few seconds, so we have to remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So let me go to the tab here. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Felt like it went well, and now I'm pressing end.